Kuritu Conservancy akachukua ile barabara ijenga akiipeleka kwake hotelini, imeshia pale kwa hoteli yake. Na ninaongea kwa sababu mimi pia nimejenga hapo hapo. Bwana Deputy President alisema kwamba watu waliomba hiyo barabara ijengwe, kulikuwa na public participation. Ni kweli kabisa, tuliomba ya kwamba barabara ile ijengwe, lakini hii kwamba ni uhusiano wake yeye na wenyeji wa Kuruitu, kwamba ni uhusiano ambao ni mzuri, wanaelewana, na kwamba hata mbunge eneo hilo anajua. Mimi nasema ashindwe katika jina la Yesu. Siyajui hayo. Sikuhusishwa kuhusu barabara ambayo alimepeleka kwa hoteli yake. Tatu, Bwana Speaker, Mheshimiwa Speaker, Deputy President alisema ya kwamba barabara ile inafaidi watu wengi sana ambao kwamba wanaishi maeneo yale. Akataja kwamba kuna vipingo, Shariani Secondary School. Mimi ninajua mahali Shariani Secondary School ipo, wala haifaidiki na ile barabara. Akataja kuhusu Shariani Primary School. Shariani Primary School ukitaka kuaccess unaipata kwa hiyo main highway ya kutoka ile nyumba ambayo kwamba ilikuwa ni ndugu, utafatwa, itabainika wazi ya kwamba na Deputy President aidha awe alinunua kutoka kwa ndugu yake ama awe amemwibia ndugu yake. Ni jambo la kuhuzunisha, ni jambo la kuhuzunisha. Akisema ya kwamba mali ile yote ambayo iliachwa, yeye ameachiwa percentage fulani kubwa kushinda wale watoto. Kama ukweli si uongo, basi si anasherehekea kifo cha ndugu yake. Ni nani mwenye akili zake timamo ataacha urithi au peane kwa ndugu yake, asahau watoto wake, asahau bibi zake, asahau binamu zake, hali yeye anasema kwamba yeye ni mtu uko na mali? Mimi sijawahi kumuunga mkono kwa lolote, na ninajua nyumba hii iko na hisia tofauti kulingana na masuala ya Deputy President. Wakati nilipeleka public participation Kilifi South, 95%.
Give him 1 minute.
Na asante sana Msaiki Speaker. Na asije akasema ya kwamba yeye alichaguliwa na watu sijui milioni 7, na ukweli wa mambo ni kwamba sisi ambao tuko hapa kama wabunge, sisi ndio tuna represent wale watu ambao walitualika pale. Kwa hivyo siseme kwamba sisi hatuna uwezo wa kutoa amri au mamlaka ya kwamba yeye agatuliwe mamlakani. Langu ninasihi, wakati umefika. Unajua Mungu akitaka kukumaliza hukuweka kichaa. Mimi sijasema kwamba Deputy President akona kichaa. Na ninasema tu ya kwamba matamshi yake. Kante Musaiki Speaker.
Bashir.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, from the onset, I want to make it clear that I support this special motion by Honorable Mutuse. Honorable Speaker, there are 11 counts as contained in this special motion. What these 11 counts in total summarize and talk about is gross misconduct and issues of integrity. The holder of the office of the Deputy President is not a small man. He is just a heartbeat away from the presidency. Looking at the behaviors, actions, utterances of Deputy President regarding Gachagua shows you that he does not befit to hold the office of the Deputy President. Honorable Speaker, time and again, His Excellency regarding Gachagua has been talking about Murima. But one thing I want people to know is that the same Murima has people who have been elected by the same representative and who are in this house representing the people of Mount Kenya. Regarding Gachagua is not the sole representative of Mount Kenya. They have MPs, they have women reps, they have senators, they have governors. He is supposed to represent each and every part of this country called Kenya. Unfortunately, he doesn't understand that bit. Sometimes in July, in a well-attended press conference in Mombasa, His Excellency Gachagua called for a press and attacked in bad faith the constitutional officers of the National Intelligence Services, and especially in the person of the Director General. Now look at this case. The Deputy President is a member of NSAC, the National Security Advisory Council. He sits in that council. If there are issues that he has with individuals running those institutions, the best place will have been that council. Now, you've been the Deputy President of the country. Instead of addressing matters in a perfect and constitutional manner, you address the press and taint the images of such officers, critical officers of security. That itself is quite unfortunate. Honorable Speaker, I listened to the press conference last night. One thing that perturbed me was the issue of His Excellency saying, I have gotten all these wealth from my brother. Now I'm asking myself, he doesn't have wealth of his own that he can tell the people? How come he is the one who gets more of the shares than the widows and the orphans? It's also unfortunate that the same Rigathi Gachagua was at point a district officer in 1997. He was sacked for stealing relief food. What is relief food supposed to go to? To the vulnerable people, vulnerable community of that area. He stole the relief food. We cannot continue to entrust one Rigathi Gachagua with the office of the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. We call upon this House to make history for the first time under the new constitution to say that Rigathi Gachagua does not befit to hold the office of the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. The President and the Deputy President are supposed to work in harmony. They are not working in harmony. The President sometimes goes out of the country.
Sorry. Ruth Odinga. Give her the mic.
Take this one.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I rise today not just as a member of this esteemed House, but as a daughter, a sister, and a proud descendant of those who fought tirelessly for the freedom we hold dear. I urge us to reflect on the values upon which our great nation was built as we consider the impeachment of the Deputy President. I want to take you back to the times before independence. Jaramogi Oginga Odinga is one of the people who fought for independence. And the colonialists actually offered him to be to become the president of Kenya. He declined and left that for Jomo Kenyatta to become the president. And in 1964, Jaramogi became the first vice president of the Republic of Kenya. Exactly 2 years down the line, like the 2 years we now have with the deputy president, Jaramogi decided that due to the ideologies that he was holding, which differed from the president, he decided to step down and leave the position of vice president, not for his own good, but for the greater good of the Republic of Kenya. He actually stepped down. I would like, in my own statement, to ask the Deputy President that Kenya is larger than you. Kenya is a big country that we need to protect. If I were you, Mr. Deputy President, please take the honorable route that some of your predecessors had taken, like Jaramogi, and step down from this position of presidency. Don't take Kenya through the valley of the abyss the dark abyss you want Kenya to go through. Secondly, I would like to say something. I was not one of the people who was actually wanting this impeachment of the Deputy President. I felt that the Deputy President's impeachment was not the main problems that we were having in Kenya, and that we had other issues. But having heard how the President spoke last night, I am completely convinced from that statement that the Deputy President must go, and he must go as soon as possible. One of the reasons why I say that is that we are not here for our personal grandiose and our personal wealth. Kenya, if the Deputy President is mourning because his father is going to turn in his grave because of the wealth that is being accused of, I wonder what the people like Bildad Kagia, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, and all those who fought for us to get through this, to get to where we are, through multi-party. Oginga Odinga and all went through house arrest, detention, to make sure that we get the multi-party that we are enjoying in this country, the democracy that we are enjoying. How are they feeling in their grave when now the Deputy President is talking about making Kenya a company? What company are you talking about, and shareholders? When Kenya is a country that we have a sovereign country in Kenya. Mr. Deputy President, I was a bit on your side, but you have hanged yourself with your own rope. Whoever informed you to go to the TV yesterday did you a very big disservice. And for that, I support the motion.
Mbura Buri.
Asanti Bwana Spika kunipa nafasi hii. Yangu ni kidogo sana. Nikuseme eti kwa tunataka naibu wa rais ile ambaye si mkabila. Kwa sababu nchi yetu ya Kenya ni kubwa sana kusinda mtu. Tukiongea mambo ya mlima kule kwangu Tigania East, tuko katikati ya mlima. Lakini ukiangalia katika hii kitabu ambaye ukiangalia haya mashtaka yaliyo katika kitabu hii, ukiangalia ile mashtaka katika kitabu hii, ile zile kampani zote ziko hapa ni za Gachagua, bibi yake na watoto wake. Hakuna Mutigania, hakuna Mwegembe, hakuna Muimenti, hakuna Mluya. That means yeye mwenyewe alikuwa anatetea tumbo yake. Ndipo mimi niko hapa kusema eti ya kwamba sisi hatupembelezani. Sisi tunasema kwamba lazima aende nyumbani kwa sababu amekataa kuangalia mambo ya wananchi wa Kenya, na Kenya ni kubwa. Ingine ni hii. Mimi nimekaa kule East Africa Community kipindi ya miaka 5. Nilikuwa na Jematia ambaye ni dada yangu. Katika kipindi ya miaka 5 sijawahi kusikia Jematia akiwa na malaya, lakini naibu wa rais alisimama akasema kwamba Jematia ni malaya. Ya kwamba mimi nikiwa Mporo Mtabori na support naibu wa rais aende nyumbani. Asante sana. Thank you.
Women Rep Busia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support a lot of strength this motion because many times I thought I was a tenant in Kenya, and I know I was born and raised in this nation. When a leader of a national figure discriminates openly, I left myself wondering if we can keep allowing to be divided every day, and yet as leaders we must be a factor that unites all Kenyans. I want to ask the Deputy President, what message was he sending to Busians who voted for Honorable Maina in Marachi West, in Butlak sub-county? And what message was he sending to Busians who voted for Honorable Talam in Buhayo West, in Matayos, Busia County? We should be free from Mombasa to Turkana, any person of any race, any tribe, to stand and be elected without being pointed at as this one belonging to a particular region and that one not belonging to our region. Because Kenya is our country and we are here in this country to build it. If we don't join, because if you go as an individual, you are a drop in the ocean. But together as Kenyans, we are an ocean. So I want to ask again, what other thing a principal assistant is supposed to do? According to me, unless you have a shrunken hippocampus in your brain, then you go displaying what your master is doing instead of being the real assistant of even covering up. One day he says, I was sent all these things I was saying. I was sent all these things I'm saying. It's like he is wearing an oversized coat, oversized trouser, a tumbo cut vest, and oversized shoe. He does not understand his role as a principal assistant. We must unravel from the seams of our fabric in this country, because sometimes you can be wearing a dress or a trouser, but something keeps biting you. Unless you unravel or open up the seam to know what is biting you, you will continue losing blood and become anemic. So people of any nation are stronger than the people in power. All leaders in this nation must be responsible of the utterances they puke every day, because what will our future leaders be saying? I am, or who is our role model? Who is their role model? All of us must be responsible not to give hate speech anywhere we go. And I don't think there is a tribe in Kenya that is superior than others. Whether you come from Eastern in Garissa or you come from Siamahanga village where I live, you are equal. Article 27, Section 4 is clear about this, that we should not discriminate. When I hear a widow in Mount Kenya being tortured, being snatched property by the deputy president, whether she is Kikuyu and she's a widow, she is representing all the widows in Kenya. So Gachagua, return the matrimonial property, the bank accounts, everything that you took from that widow in Nyeri. Because I was raised by a widow and I know what happens when such things happen. A widow should be given their rights, whether you have all the muscle in the nation. And thirdly, a leader who does not respect women, that one is not a leader. Calling women prostitutes. So when a woman is being a prostitute, who is the other prostitute? Then he must be the one. Because if you call me a prostitute, was I doing myself? There must be somebody in a trouser too. And we do not want to be discriminated. We have been dating, marriage, we marry Kikuyu, Luya, Teso, Kamba. That should continue happening than us growing up or children fearing to marry from Mount Kenya or fearing to marry from Nyanza. That is wrong. So Deputy President must go home. We really want him to just take a rest. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Muya, what's your point of order?
Speaker, I'm standing on standing order number 91 on matters of facts and substantiating what the member is speaking of. The issue of Malaya have been adversely mentioned in this House. Have you as the Speaker received anything to substantiate? Honorable Speaker, it is on record that the Deputy Speaker, the Deputy President has been cruising the whole country, campaigning for the same women, especially in Mount Kenya where he was assigned. So it is unfair that members can continue repeating, you cannot substantiate, and there is no evidence. We should have evidence.
Honorable members, order. Take your seat. Honorable members, I want, with your concurrence, to reduce the time of the speakers to 2 minutes. Is that agreed? Is that agreed? Minutes to 2 minutes. As members of that opinion say aye. Will those of the counter opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Didymus, 2 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I want to be very clear that I support this impeachment motion. I say so because Kenya, we have more than 42 tribes. And it was never our permission to decide which tribe you belong to, Honorable Speaker. And we want every part of our country to feel part and parcel or properly represented by our Deputy President. The continued dividing of our country in shares, Honorable Speaker, in terms of how many votes that a particular area voted for the government, Mr. Speaker, it is making parts of this country feel like they're not part of this country. I think, in a nutshell, Honorable Speaker, because of time, I want to summarize what I want to say by saying that Kenya as a country, the position of the Deputy President, it requires a patriot. It requires an individual whom when he speaks, the country listens with optimism. It doesn't require an individual who when he opens his mouth, part of this country begins to bleed. This country doesn't require a villager in the name of the Deputy President. It requires a patriot, a statesman. And this House, Mr. Speaker, we will go down in the history of this country because the war against tribalism, the war against segregating this country along shareholding lines, it's a war that we have come a long way, Honorable Speaker. It's a war that we vowed that we must win it in installments. And today we are paying the last installment regarding Gachagua must go home. Not by walking, but by running, Honorable Speaker. I support.
Member for Wajir West. Please here.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. First, I rise, Mr. Speaker, reluctantly but firmly in support of all the articles of this motion. Mr. Speaker, I say reluctantly because of the following reasons. Normally, Mr. Speaker, as a Muslim leader, I don't rush to support this grave matter like this to remove the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya from office after just 2 years of election. But because of the Speaker, I have no option but to support this motion. Mr. Speaker, I am a witness who went to the office of the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya to request for assistance during the drought season, to request for relief food for the people of Wajir West. But the utterances of the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya was shocking, Mr. Speaker. He told me, Mr. Speaker, and I want to confirm to this House of Kenya, told me you have more than your share. It was shocking. I was dejected, hopeless, and left the office in protest, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I cannot allow to sit in this office to support somebody who demeaned, who disrespected and discriminated against the people I represent in this House. Mr. Speaker, today, as we speak, it's a historic day. And for that reason, Mr. Speaker, for unity of this House, of the country.
Your time is up. Your time is up. Member for Tetu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You have 2
Mr.
minutes.
Speaker, from the onset, I rise to oppose this motion, this special motion on removal from office by impeachment of the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, when a man is down in the spirit of Ubuntu, it is not good to crush him. On Sunday, the Deputy President at the National Prayer Altar stood and apologize profusely to his boss, to fellow Kenyans, and indeed to all the members of this House. Mr. Speaker, I feel that our party, UDA, on which the Deputy President was elected, has internal disciplinary mechanisms which have not been exhausted so as to bring this matter to this House. I also feel that in the spirit of us finishing the agenda that we promised Kenyans, this matter can wait to 2027 so that we can focus on service delivery to our people. Mr. Speaker, I will personally request the members of this House to find it in their heart to forgive the Deputy President. And I will personally.
Mr. Speaker, you have had honorable member telling this House that in UDA they had not exhausted their disciplinary mechanism. Why did he then decide to sign on the motion? Why did he sign?
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. The matter of...
One day to finish up.
I did not finish.
Not exhausted. Go on, you have half a minute.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, the matter of my signing, you talked about it, and the matter is rested. Wanjara can come to your office for further explanation. Mr. Speaker, I personally would like to volunteer to lead other leaders in this country, elders, bishops, to ensure that we sit down with the Deputy President so that if there are any issues that he needs to correct, if there are any issues that he needs to align, he can align so that himself can continue serving the people of this country. He has some good in himself, and that good needs to be preserved so that he can finish his work. So, Mr. Speaker, I rise to oppose. Thank you.
Umi. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support the motion of impeachment because of many reasons. Mr. Speaker, as a young person and as a representative of the House for the Youth, I wonder how many young people of this country can walk into a bank and access a loan of 600 million shillings without any guarantees of any sort. Mr. Speaker, this is a representation of impunity. The Deputy President stood before the media yesterday as a national leader to defend his children. I respect that he stood to defend his children, but how many children of this country has he given a chance for them to access the same benefits? Myself included, I cannot access a loan of that amount of money. Mr. Speaker, this impeachment motion is not just an impeachment because of difference of ideology, but it will be a symbol of democracy for our country, that people who abuse their powers can go home, regardless of whatever position they hold. Mr. Speaker, I come from Garissa County. We lost residents from my county at an accident as they were accessing to cross a river because of the flood scandal. Mr. Speaker, out of the 10 billion shillings that he had under his pocket, he only gave us 48 million shillings and disappeared and never showed up again. Mr. Speaker, what can 48 million shillings do for people who are suffering? Mr. Speaker, he did not even step in Wajir and Mandera. This is a deputy president of the whole country. I support the impeachment. He must go home and create a room for other people to get to that position. Maybe it's time for other regions to be deputies so that we can get the same benefits. Mr. Speaker, I can even do a good job myself. Mr. Speaker.
Your time is up, Jen Kagiri. If you read the Constitution, you'll know that you don't qualify to be a deputy president at your age. Jen Kagiri.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this motion. Honorable Speaker, when I was elected in the year 2022, in the month of August, I was a very grateful person to God, and I knew my work was to serve the people of Laikipia County. A county that is cosmopolitan, that has Pokots, that has Turkanas, that has Maasais, that has Samburus, that has the Muslims, it has the Somalis, and all these people, inclusive of the Kikuyus, came together and gave me their votes. That is what comprises of Laikipia County. Honorable Speaker, The point at which I differed with His Excellency the Deputy President is when he started talking about Mlima. I realized, so Honorable Speaker, that was the first point where we differed. So Honorable Speaker, that was the first point where we differed. The second point, Your Honorable Speaker, is when there was the talk of 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote. In Laikipia County, we are among the counties that have the least population. When you talk of 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote, it means you're talking of reduction on resources for my people. That one I would not accept. Honorable Speaker, I remain a Kikuyu. But sadly, since our difference in opinion with His Excellency the Deputy President, I have been the poster girl of his intimidation, of his insults, of his blackmail, of his coercion, telling me that I should not engage the national government, that I should not follow up for resources for my people. Honorable Speaker, once in a while, a generation is called upon to stand for something. Today I stand for an end to insult, a respect to the dignity of leaders, a respect to my people, Honorable Speaker.
Give her a minute. Give her, okay, wind up.
Honorable Speaker, in my conclusion, I must state, many people have called us traitors. Restoration of dignity in this house. I need no money for the restoration of respect to women in this house. I need no money for resources to reach my people of Laikipia County. Honorable Speaker, I submit and I support. Thank you.
Oundo.
Honorable Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. Honorable Speaker, my attention is drawn to Article 125 of the Constitution. And Article 125 of the Constitution makes reference to the effect that any matter before that the Parliament got the same powers as High Court. Out of that, Honorable Speaker, then I'm left to look at the evidence presented by my good friend Honorable Mutuse and wonder, does it really meet the threshold of any form of evidence as required at the High Court? Honorable Speaker, I have looked at the various options or breaches that constitute impeachment: gross violation, crime, gross misconduct, and so many other things, Honorable Speaker. I'm at pain, Honorable Speaker, going through this to find anything that has been proved beyond reasonable doubt to move this House, Honorable Speaker, to take such a drastic action. Considering, Honorable Speaker, these are people elected under Article 148, and the framers of the new Constitution, Honorable Speaker, deliberately inserted Article 148 to avoid the kind of abuse that had been there in the past. Honorable Speaker, if we get to this level, Honorable Speaker, if we get to this level, everybody will be left wondering, what is the role of Parliament in protecting the Constitution? Honorable Speaker, and I want to rephrase Luke 23, verse 4. I find no case against this.
Ruku. He didn't ask for it. Ruku. He didn't ask for any addition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, from onset, I rise to support this motion. Mr. Speaker, when I'm standing here, I'm thinking about the children of the most remote places in the Republic of Kenya. I'm thinking about the children in the remote places in Turkana, in Mandera, in Bere, very remote places, Mr. Speaker. It reminds me on Article 10 of our Constitution, which talks about the national values and principles of governance. And one of the principles which is enshrined in our Constitution, Mr. Speaker, is protection of the marginalized. We have seen the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, who in many occasions has forgotten that he represents even the most marginalized places, corners of our country. that the numbers of these small communities in the Republic, they have the right, just like any other big community in our Republic. We have seen the smirk, the arrogance, the contempt which the Deputy President of the Republic has to the minority groups in the Republic of Kenya. And coming from a marginalized community, a community which has been marginalized from 1963, Mr. Speaker, I want to state here and now that it's high time we sanitize the office of the Deputy President. Mr. Speaker, last week on Sunday, I was in...
Your time is up.
In Narok.
Your time is up. Irene Mayaka.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also stand to support the motion by my good brother, the Honorable Mutuse, in impeaching the person of the Deputy President of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, under unwarranted discrimination, in contravention of Article 27, Part 3 and 4 of the Constitution, the Deputy President has in so many occasions expressed that he only considers people he considers shareholders. Honorable Speaker, on the 2 occasions that the Deputy President came to Gusiland, on the first occasion while addressing leaders, he told us that the reason why, as Kisses, we should not demand for more things from the government is because that sisi kama wa Kisii, we are the most criminals in this country. And Honorable Speaker, as I finish, I just want to remind the Deputy President, yesterday he spent a lot of time reminding us that he is an orphan, and yet he forgot that there is one orphan that the Deputy President kept saying that he has put Oi Mitego in State House. The Honorable Deputy President forgets that even the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga is an orphan. Why did he forget that he was putting Oi Mitego? I just want to tell the Deputy President that because of the utterances that you make against people of Kenya, you must go, and you will go home. I thank you.
Malolo Njendi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Deputy President has been always talking about Central Kenya, Mlima, etc., etc. Mr. Speaker, whipping up the tribal feelings. Mr. Speaker, if we allow the Deputy President to continue holding that particular position in the country, Mr. Speaker, what will happen in this country is that most of these other tribes will feel domination of this particular community, will feel intimidation by this community, and they will rise up, gang up against the community of Central Kenya, not because they are liking it, but because of his sentiments and because of what he speaks. Mr. Speaker, this person has been in office for 2 years, but he appears not to have had the conscience to know the kind of office he's holding, and that's why he speaks the way he speaks of regions. Mr. Speaker, I wonder how.
Order, honorable members, order.
I wonder how a person holding that kind of office can keep on talking of Kuweka Miteko State House for people who did not vote for this government, not to enter, not to access. Mr. Speaker, because of Kuweka Miteko, kila mahali kwa kona State House has affected some of us when he was still very active in State House, blocking us from accessing State House. Mr. Speaker, the whole issue of shares, I want to tell people from Western Kenya, we are suffering from this because of his input and insisting, embarrassing the president. When he wants to help persons from West Kenya, he says those people don't deserve to have the share they're having in the government. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, I support.
Robert Mbui. Robert Mbui.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Being in leadership, I'll give you 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, I've noticed, listening to the arguments that have been passed here this afternoon, and also earlier in the morning, I've noticed that it's getting a little personal, and I'm feeling a little jittery, because I know the subject matter is a person who is a family man with a wife and children, and friends and relatives, and they're all listening. So I think maybe I will start by reading the Bible, so that we can bring down the temperatures. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 32 says, "Be kind, compassionate, and forgiving to each other in the same way God forgave you in Christ." Now, verse 31, Mr. Speaker, says, Put aside all bitterness, losing your temper, anger, shouting, and slander, along with every other evil. Mr. Speaker, as a member of Azimio la Umoja One Kenya, I didn't believe in the leadership of Kenya Kwanza. I opposed it from the beginning. Mr. Speaker, I am vindicated now because I can tell the people of Kathiani that I said that this government is rudderless, is leaderless, is planless. And Mr. Speaker, is also merciless because within a very short time, the center can no longer hold. Mr. Speaker, former Senator, now Governor James Orengo, famously said in Senate that governments eat their own people. Former leader of majority of the National Assembly, Duale, was eaten by his government, today is a CS. Former Deputy Speaker of the Senate, Kizura Kindiki, was eaten by his government, now he is also a CS. Former Chair of Budget of this National Assembly was eaten by his government, today is the majority leader. I don't know, we are now eating Rigiji, where will he end up? Mr. Speaker, I have an issue of concern, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, is the Deputy Leader of Minority to assert that I was eaten by my own government, Honorable Speaker, whereas he knows I was never eaten by any government. I only stood firm against tyranny. I stood firm against the bullying that I experienced under that regime. The same bullying I have stood firm against a Deputy President today who has been bullying members of Parliament. And I have only put my chest forward to defend the rights of all these members, including the Honorable Robert Mbui, who was Honorable Speaker, when the Deputy President visited Kathiani. He said to the Honorable Mbui that these Kambas are too few. They can never make a president. Kalonzo can never be anything. How can you defend a person who has disdain for Kalonzo Musyoka, a former Vice President of this country, Mbui?
Robert Mbui.
Thank you, Mr.
Vice President of this country, Mbui.
Robert Mbui.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, I love the passion and the humor in the majority leader. But Mr. Speaker, I'm also impressed by the energy that I've seen in this house, the vigor, the passion from morning. I mean, it is the first bill, or rather the first motion, where this house has gone up to public participation in the constituencies. Mr. Speaker, I only wish that the energy that we are expending here to send a question to all Kenyans about one individual was being used to fight the issues that are failing us in our education, in our health sector. People here, the cost of living has gone too high. People have no jobs. Mr. Speaker, those are the things that this House should passionately deal with. But Mr. Speaker, for a whole day, and from, I don't know, even the last week or 2 weeks, to deal with that one matter, Mr. Speaker, I think that we are losing direction. And it is important, Mr. Speaker, that we deal with the things that are affecting our people. Because, Mr. Speaker, if you look at the education sector, I talked about it here the other day. We don't even have classes for grade 9 going into JSS. Mr. Speaker, the funding model for university has failed. Mr. Speaker, the insurance sector, NHIF, is having a problem, Mr. Speaker. How then do we spend taxpayers' money and time to come and deal with a matter of one single individual, Mr. Speaker? Now we are told that this person, Mr. Speaker, is a tribalist. But Mr. Speaker, those comments that he made, yesterday he made it very clear. And I was shocked. I was very shocked, Mr. Speaker, yesterday, to realize that in fact Kenya Kwanza was actually a company that is limited by shares and that people negotiated shares for themselves. The mover of the motion is a member of MCCP. MCCP negotiated shares for Lower Eastern. Mr. Speaker, because we have 2 cabinet secretaries in this government. Now, Mr. Speaker, we only have 1. And I'm telling you, Mr. Speaker, actions speak louder than words. The Deputy President may have said that he is a shareholder and there are issues about his community, but if you look at the appointments that are being made in Kenya, then you will realize that the person of the president himself is the one who is the biggest tribalist, Mr. Speaker, because he's appointing people from his own community for every position. Mr. Speaker, if we have to find a situation where a school has failed, you do not fire the deputy principal. You get rid of the principal. Our problem is not the deputy. It is the head
Yes,
himself.
Farah.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes, Farah.
Mr. Speaker, I was standing. Mr. Speaker.
Order.
Mr. Speaker.
Robert Mbui, you are normally more decent than that.
This is a house of. Mr. Speaker, protect me. Mr. Speaker, my point of order is this. This is a house of rules. This is a law-making body. This is the place where our constitution itself was passed. You cannot bring, talk about a president or even any other head of state of a friendly country without bringing a substantive motion. So you cannot discuss the conduct of the president. And by the way, I want to correct you. You might
point is out of order.
Your point of saying that government
take your seat is out of order. Kahangara. Yes, use my card.
Honorable Kahangara.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Hold on a second, they're going to put for you the mic. Clerk, just yes, I can see the mic. Take the one next to Mheshimiwa Fulamu. Take that one, yes. He's gone to the one you had given him.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute to this motion. And I want to say that from the onset, I am in support of the motion, the special motion for the impeachment of the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. Madam Speaker, let me say that this country, Kenya, is a country that is is led by a constitution, by laws, and a country that is led by of democracy. In this country, Mr. Speaker, every 5 years Kenyans go to elections to elect their leaders, and after elections, for people to assume office, they take an oath of office where they say that they are going to respect the constitution, they are going to protect the constitution of this country. Mr. Speaker, when the Deputy President took oath of office, he promised that he was going to respect the Constitution of Kenya. In his responsibilities, we are told that the President is a symbol of national unity. He's the one who is supposed to be uniting this country and also to respect the diversity of the various communities and tribes in this country. In the same Constitution, it says that the Deputy President is the principal assistant to the President. So if he is the principal assistant to the President, meaning that he performs the duties that are performed by the President. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that the Deputy President has gone around this country talking about shares, meaning that he has put all the tribes of this country into coalition. And I want to thank the member who brought this particular motion, because we are saving this country from somebody who is, I would call a suicide bomber, somebody who is ready to die, somebody who wants to die with Kenyans, and we want to say that we are ready to fight tribalism, ensure that this country continues in...
Your time is up, Kahangara. Kasheri. Give Honorable Njeri the mic.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to vehemently oppose this motion on behalf of the great people of Kirinyaga. Honorable Speaker, it begs the question, does it not prick our conscience as a House that barely 4 months after passing the grossly unpopular finance bill, which the President himself refused and declined to assent to, that we're here discussing an impeachment motion of the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya? Honorable Speaker, the young people of this nation unequivocally told us to fix high unemployment levels among the young people, gross corruption at all levels of government, accountability issues in regard to leadership, our ailing healthcare sector, among other things. Honorable Speaker, many young people died on that day, Honorable Speaker. Several others to date are still missing, Honorable Speaker. It begs the question, the priorities we have as a 13th Parliament. Honorable Speaker, the motion before us is frivolous, it is baseless, it is lacking in substance. It is nothing but a shambolic political scheme to hang the truthful man for merely being truthful. Honorable Speaker, we must redeem the 13th Parliament, Honorable Speaker. We must ensure that we give...
Jerry, take your seat. Yes, Donya. Give Donya the mic. Hold, Jerry, you have heard.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Is Honorable Gachagua in order to bring things which have passed, like the finance bill, when we are discussing about the impeachment motion? Those... And Gachagua is my friend, but this one you are wrong, my dear. We are discussing about the impeachment of Gachagua, not finance bill. Let the foregone be the foregone.
Honorable Speaker, I would want the honorable member, who is my very good friend, to point what standing order she rose on and what standing order can ensure that I do not speak on matters that have been controverted and that are public information, Honorable Speaker. We passed the finance bill, Honorable Speaker. It is a matter of fact. Even if you boo me, I will speak. The young people of this nation deserve more. They want jobs. They want healthcare sorted. The impeachment of the Deputy President is a sham political process.
Kasheri, order. Jerry shall be heard in silence and dignity. But Jerry, your time is up. Women Rep of Migori. Yes, Wanjala. What is out of order? Give Wanjala.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the person who is accused, whom we are debating, was supposed to be here by 5. It is 7 minutes past 5.
He actually is.
Mr. Speaker, can we bar him from coming because he's late?
He's already here. Yes. Migori Women Rep. Give to Fatuma. Yes. I look for you to speak. You had gone out.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Kindly protect me, Mr. Speaker. I can't be heard, Mr. Speaker.
Order. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Order.
Excuse me, Honorable Member. Please give me time to speak.
Order.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity you have given me. And as I stand here as a Muslim, I don't know when I'll die. In case I die before the impeachment time, I vote yes, Gachagua must go. Mr. Speaker, I will take you to the Bible, Proverbs 23, 10, verse 11. And it says, please keep quiet. And it says, don't move an old stone that marks a border, and don't take fields that belong to the orphans. God, their defender, is strong. He will take their side against you. I want Gachagua to know, the former Deputy President of Kenya should know that when you touch anything of the orphans, it is not Kenya Kwanza, it is not Azimio, but it is God Almighty that will put the fire on you. I will return to the Quran. your taxpayers' money.
Your time is up. Rueda. Honorable members, we are coming to an end. Order, honorable members. I've given the floor to member for Lamu East.
Asante Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, umoja wa taifa ni muhimu sana, na vile ilivyofanyika na naibu wa rais ilionekana kwamba hakuna umoja. Nataka ieleweke kwamba watu wa mlima wanaishi sehemu zingine. Kule kwangu Kiunga niko na watu wa mlima, na kile wanachoona zaidi ni sand dunes. Hawaoni mlima, anaona bahari. Nataka niseme ile kuzungumzia kuhusu NIS ilikuwa ni grave mistake. Wamekosea sana. Afadhali angetaja Nurdin kama ako na shida naye kuliko institution ya NIS. Ni kutufanya sisi tukae dhaifu katika maadui zetu. Kwa mfano Al-Shabaab wataona vipi sisi kama tuko weak. Ingine nasema, ukiwa unatukana mwanamke, na tena hii ikuwe kwa mtu yoyote, yule anatukana mwanamke ajue mwanamume yote anatukana mwanamke, mashimo yako 7 kwa kila mtu alioumbwa. Wanaume wanayo, wanawake wanayo. Kama ni malaya basi ni wote wanaweza kutumia kwa malaya. Hii jina ya malaya nimechoka kusikia. Ingine naulizwa mashimo ni haya mawili ya pua, ya masikio, ya mdomo na yale mengine mawili. Kila mtu ako nayo. Ingine nataka niseme, sisi tunafundishwa Kiislamu kuheshimu wajane na mayatima. Ikiwa kuna mtu haiheshimu wajane na mayatima, basi hairuhusiwi kidini yetu. Asante Bwana Spika.
Order. Member for Kipipiri, take your seat. Yes, Milemba.
Honorable Speaker, thank you for this. The mood in the House is such that it's already 5. And Honorable Speaker, it's my plea to you that the country is waiting. We move to the next stage so that we may hear the Deputy President speak. Remember, this is a motion which has timelines. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Order, members. If you listen to the Speaker, when I called out member for Lamu East, I said she was going to be the last one on this. So she is indeed the last one on this. The interaction on the motion. Order. Order, members. The interaction of members on the motion has been very, very intense. Order, honorable members. Member for Machakos, keep your cool, Mami. Keep your cool. Yes, keep your cool. The members who have spoken are many. It is not possible for each and every one of us to speak on the same motion. For those who have spoken, I appreciate you for your tremendous industry for and against the motion. Now His Excellency the Deputy President is in the chamber and he is accompanied, I believe, by his legal team or assistants. We will now move to the next stage. You remember I had advised the House. Order Joyce Kamene. There is not a moment where the Speaker can exercise the option to exclude you from proceedings. Dignified person. I don't know what a dignified person. I don't know what is the problem today. What is the problem today? I want to urge the House. You remember we said at 5. You remember we said at 5. The Deputy President had been assigned 2 hours in accordance with standing orders. The standing orders say, The standing orders say not more than 2 hours. So he may exercise to spend the 2 hours or less as he wishes. Second leader, or less as he wishes. Second leader, majority leader, will take the floor as we had agreed, because you'll have spent your time as allocated by the House. I want to encourage you members to maintain your silence, to maintain your decorum in listening. I invite you, Your Excellency, you have a choice. You have a choice between speaking yourself or speaking through your legal counsel. Yes, Kamket, what is out of order? Your Excellency, you may take your seat. Let us hear him.
His Excellency, the Deputy President, who is my brother-in-law. Mr. Speaker, yesterday, the Deputy President on national television House in unpalatable terms. And Mr. Speaker, while it is his right to say whatever he wants to say, as a former member himself, Mr. Speaker, would I be in order, Mr. Speaker, that the Deputy President, as a precursor to his speech, apologizes to this House? Mr. Speaker, this House, Mr. Speaker, he used the words, he referred to this House as the theater of the absurd. Mr. Speaker, this House is an honorable House of the people of Kenya. These are elected members of Parliament, Mr. Speaker. This House is neither a theater, neither is there absurdity in this House, Mr. Speaker. So I would request, Mr. Speaker, that the Honorable Deputy President exercises, dignifies this House by offering an apology. I know he has very little support in this House now.
You've made your point.
But he may get a little support even just from that apology. He has to apologize to this House, Mr. Speaker, before he proceeds with his speech, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
Order. No more points of order. Your Excellency, Deputy President, as you take the floor, this morning, the Speaker made a communication and indicated that we found it abhorrent, some of the contents of your interview. We also indicated that the rules of this House preclude matters pending before the House from being canvassed in other fora, particularly by members of the House, and to an extent of broad interpretation of the standing orders, a person who is subject to the motion going on in the House. It is spilled milk, it's water under the bridge. You said what is House, that you exercise your conscience to hold as to whether this is a theater of the absurd or is an honorable National Assembly of the Republic of Kenya. You may start by addressing that.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. And thank you, the honorable members present, for according me this opportunity to prosecute the matter before us. Mr. Speaker, sir, I have tremendous respect for this great institution, having served here for 5 years between 2017 and 2022, and I appear here in a very nostalgic moment that I'm back in the House where I stayed for 5 years, despite the fact that I've come under difficult circumstances. Mr. Speaker, maybe the sound people. Is that okay now? Mr. Speaker, sir, and the honorable members, I want to thank you for giving me opportunity.
I hope, Your Excellency, you have been advised by your lawyers that you are here to respond to specific issues
Yes,
in the motion
I have my advice.
and not to talk generally.
I know.
Yeah, so rules of relevance will still apply to you as they apply to all members.
Mr. Speaker, the motion before this great House alleges that 2 years ago, since assuming office, I have acquired property and wealth whose estimated value of 5.2 billion shillings. A significant number of properties to which this sum of 5.2 billion is erroneously and maliciously attached belongs to my late brother, the late Honorable James Gachagua, and as demonstrated by his will, a copy of which is attached. The fact as follows. Olive Garden, my response. The allegation that I own the Olive Garden Hotel is false. The truth is that Olive Garden Hotel used to belong to my deceased brother, the late Honorable James Gachagua, and therefore has never been my property. This is information that most of you may be aware as it is in public domain. Upon his demise, my late brother left a will in which, in his recognition that I can take care of his family, he appointed me as one of the executors of his estate. In the said will, my late brother directed that the hotel should be sold, among other properties, and proceeds distributed as per the will. I'm also listed as a beneficiary together with other persons named therein. In accordance with these instructions, the hotel was sold by the executors to a third party. Owing to the above, I do not own the hotel and have never owned it contrary to accusation in the motion. For the benefit of this august House and the general public, I have annexed to this response copies of the following supporting documents. My late brother's will, sale agreement dated 17th May 2023, an official search for Olive Garden Hotel Limited. Mr. Speaker, Pipingo Beach Resort, just as in Olive Garden, above this allegation is also false. Pipingo Beach Resort belongs to the estate of the late James Gachagua. For the benefit of this House and the general public, I have attached annexed to this response copy of the official search for Pipingo Beach Resort Limited, confirming that the hotel is still in the name of my late brother's estate. Queen's Gate Service Apartments. The allegation is also false, and the property belonged to my late brother. Queen's Gate Service Apartments, registered in the name of Pipingo Beach Resort Limited, was sold to Cooperative Bank of Kenya Limited, Staff Retirement Benefits Scheme, as evidenced by the agreement for this dated 4th May 2022. And a transfer dated 5th October 2022, marks Annex RG6. Land parcel Ruguru, Kiamariga 2023 in Madeira East constituency, which have originally constructed a helicopter landing facility. My response is, I do confirm that I own the above reference property, which has approximately 2.5 acres in size, and which I have planted napier grass for my dairy cows. I purchased the land in the year 2023 for 3.5 million from farm proceeds coming from my dairy farm. I have read through the motion, and there is no iota of evidence adduced of the impropriety in the way I acquired this small property. Finally, on this matter, I would confirm that there is no helicopter landing facility for this particular parcel on the motion. This part is also false. I attach a copy of the agreement for purchase of this property marked Annexure RG7. 40 acres of land purchased in Kakuret within Kabraine in Nyeri County. My response. I confirm that I own a property, having bought it in 2015 time when I was not a state officer. I had not even been elected as member of parliament from the Honorable Njoroge Wainaina, member of parliament for Kieni, who is present in his house. Or I'm not sure whether he's present. Therefore, this property I purchased 10 years ago, and not 2 years ago during my tenure as deputy president, and as indicated in the motion, the allegation is false. I've read through the motion and there is no iota of evidence adduced of any impropriety in the way I acquired this property. For the benefit of this House and the general public, I have annexed to this response copy of the agreement for sale and purchase of this property marked as Annexure RG8. 80 acres of land in Meru County. For the record, I wish to confirm that I do not own 80 acres of land in Meru. This allegation is false. However, in the spirit of disclosure, I would like to confirm that I have purchased 29 acres of land in Meru, the land of my mother, which I bought on around 9 February 2024 through a loan granted to me by Solution Circle Limited, which I am a member. This said circle has a charge registered against the title, which it continues to hold as security until I fully repay the loan. For the benefit of the August House and the general public, I have annexed to this response copies of the agreement of sale marked RG9 in a letter dated 15 July 2024 from Solution Circle Limited, confirming the finance the purchase of the property marked Annexure RG10. Dairy farm in Nyandarua County. My response is I do not have a dairy farm in Nyandarua County, therefore this allegation is false. The land in Nyandarua has no single animal. Companies. The motion alleges there are 22 companies owned by my family members and which have been used to massively launder money and conceal proceeds of crime, corruption, and benefit from influence peddling. My response is the mover of the motion has listed the 22 companies associated with me and has alleged that they have been used to massively launder money and conceal proceeds of crime, corruption, and benefit from influence peddling. I've carefully gone through the motion and I have not seen any evidence to support or prove the allegations therein. It is not clear to me how to respond without having seen any evidence incriminating the companies. I would like to be clear that these companies have not been involved in any illegal activities, and I believe that is why the mover of the motion has not tabled any evidence of impropriety with respect to the companies. It does appear to me that the mover of the motion was so meticulous to get all the companies associated with me and my family, and I believe that he also had evidence of illegalities committed by the companies, he would have shared or tabled that for the record. However, it is not possible to get evidence of illegality where there is none. Having said the above, allow me just to mention a few companies because there are many. Regarding Gachagua Foundation, this is a foundation I incorporated in 2022, and I clarify that the foundation is a non-profit making entity with the sole objective of uplifting the lives of less privileged in society. This foundation therefore does not trade, and honorable members, you are aware that by law, a foundation cannot be used to trade. Since incorporation, the foundation has received a total of 12 million shillings, which has been utilized as per the schedule marked Annexure RG11, which is paying school fees for children in Pwani University and other universities across the country. Dorcas Regarding Foundation, because she is not here to defend herself, this is a foundation founded by my wife, Pastor Dorcas, incorporated immediately we came into office as a non-profit making entity for the sole purpose of drug addicts, widows, single mothers, and orphans. A brief write-up of the its achievements is annexed here with public domain that Pastor Dorcas have been around the country doing work of rehabilitating drug addicts and helping others who have challenges. There are many other companies that are here that I don't, because this is a house of record, I don't want to bother the members of parliament of going through all of them. I want to probably only talk about Wamunyoro Investments Limited, named after my village in Wamunyoro. This company was incorporated 21 years ago before I became deputy president, and it's a company that holds family property. Mr. Speaker, sir, I've been accused of exerting influence on officials in the Ministry of Lands to issue an allotment letter to Wamunyoro Investments Limited and using the fraudulently acquired documents in support of a court case. My response, Mr. Speaker, sir, and honorable members, I wish to confirm that Wamunyoro Investments Limited has never been issued with any letter of allotment for land in Embakasi. Wamunyoro Investments Limited purchased this land from a third party in the year 2012. The company's ownership of this property has been confirmed through two legal processes. One, a case was filed before the National Land Commission in the year 2016, adjudicated, and a determination was made that this property belongs to Wamunyoro Investments Limited. That was long before I became the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. Again, a matter was filed in High Court case, ELC case number E242 of 2022, which was filed before I became Deputy President. All the documents filed in support of this case were filed in court before I became Deputy President, and no documents have been filed by myself in court upon becoming Deputy President. This being the case, it is not true that I have used my office as Deputy President to manufacture documents filed in this matter. The High Court found that this land legally belongs to Wamunyoro Investment Limited and issued the appropriate direction. This matter has since been challenged in the Court of Appeal. I invite the honorable member who may want to be enjoined in this case to have the liberty to do so. Mr. Speaker, sir, I have been accused in the irregular procurement of mosquito nets at a cost of 3.7 billion. In response to paragraph 45 of ground 7 at page 23 and 42, paragraph 78 and ground 11 and page 36, 37 or 42 of the impeachment motion, I wish to respond as follows. It is not true, as claimed in paragraph 3 of the witness affidavit of Andrew Molwa, that I was involved in the KEMSA 3.7 billion irregular procurement of malaria nets, either directly or through proxy. Further, Shobika Impacts Limited was not awarded the subject tender as the acting director of procurement, Dr. Justice Kinoti, by letter 5th May 2023, formally notified Shobika Impacts Limited that its bid was unsuccessful because its tender security was not paginated and the tender was hence non-responsive. That is clear at paragraph 4 of the witness affidavit of Andrew Molwa. He contradicts himself by claiming that on 11 July 2023, I pressured him to surrender the original bid board, yet by the letter dated 5th May 2023, KEMSA had requested for collection of the original bid. I am aware of a foreign company known as Shobika Impacts Private Limited, domiciled in India, and which appointed Crystal Kenya Limited as its local agent in the year 2014, that is 8 years before Rigathi Gachagua became the Deputy President. To date, Crystal Kenya Limited has complied with the agency terms between itself and Shobika Impacts Private Limited, annexed hereto and marked as Annex RG18 in an appointment agency letter by Shobika Impacts Limited in the year 2014. Sometime in 2023, Kenya Medical Supplies Authority advertised tender number GFATM MOL NFM 2022-2023 for supply of long-lasting insecticidal nets using the international open tendering method of procurement on behalf of the Global Fund. The monies for supply of the nets, as per my understanding, was a pure grant from the Global Fund. I am aware that Shobika Impacts Limited still participates in doing business with and has not been debarred by the Global Fund to date. I believe being technically qualified to provide and deliver the goods subject of the tender document, having the financial ability to do so, and without their participation or assistance from Crystal Kenya Limited, Shobika Impacts Private Limited independently participated and submitted in his bid in response to the subject tender pursuant to an invitation by KEMSA. Having not participated in the subject tender, Crystal Kenya Limited did not submit any of the documents in response to the subject tender. Specifically, Crystal Kenya Limited did not submit a bid board or tender security in its name in response to the subject tender. It is therefore not true that Crystal Kenya submitted a fake bid board with an intention to fraudulently acquire public property. It is also not true that with my sons I used Crystal Kenya to massively launder money, conceal proceeds of crime, engage in corruption, and benefit from influence peddling. Subsequently, by the letter 5th May 2023, KEMSA notified Shobika Impex Limited that it was not successful because the tender security was not paginated, and requested Shobika Impex Private Limited to collect its bid security from the procurement office immediately. Annexed here to and marked Annexure RG19 is a said letter by KEMSA dated 5th May 2023. However, EACC commenced investigations of the subject tender, and on conclusion of the investigation by EACC and the Senate on the subject tender, KEMSA CEO Terry Ramadhani, who had been suspended on this issue, was appointed Kenya's Deputy High Commissioner in New Delhi, India by President William Ruto. Thereafter, Crystal Kenya Limited, a Shobika Impex Limited agent in Kenya, followed up in the release of Shobika Impex Private Limited's bid board tender security on behalf of Shobika. Annexed here to and marked Annexure RG20 is an email from Shobika Impex Private Limited email addressed to Crystal Kenya Limited, together with a letter of even date confirming that Crystal Kenya Limited had authority to collect their bid board. KEMSA was mandated to immediately release the bid board tender security upon determining that Shobika Impex Private Limited was unsuccessful in the subject tender, and that is why they requested that the same be collected from its procurement office. KEMSA did so, as can be seen in its letter dated 11 July 2023, annexed here to and marked Annexure RG21 in the said letter by KEMSA dated 11 July 2023. Mr. Speaker, noting that Shobika Impex Private Limited was not successful, it did not supply any goods and it did not receive any public funds in payment thereof with respect to the subject tender. Accordingly, I have not committed any crime under Section 45(1), 46, 47(a)(3), and 48(1) of the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act and Section 2, 3, 4, and 5 of the Proceeds of Crime and Money Laundering Act. Further, I have not breached Section 34 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, for I did not bully any state or public officer with respect to the subject tender, and specifically, no evidence has been tendered to support the allegation at paragraph 78C of ground 11 at page 37 of 42 of the motion, which alleges that I summoned procurement officers in ministries and institutions, instructing them to direct procurement of goods and services in a specific manner. I have been accused of unnecessary and expensive renovation of the official residence of the Deputy President in Karen and Mombasa. Mr. Speaker, firstly, I would like to state that funds for the renovation of the official residence were approved and allocated by this Honorable House based on the fact that the premises had been neglected for a very long time when Dr. William Ruto was Deputy President. It cannot be fair that this House will proceed to impeach me because of an action that these honorable members have approved by way of appropriating monies for their renovations. Mr. Speaker, the contract for the refurbishment of the official residence of the Deputy President, dated 22nd December 2022, was signed by Honorable Katole Metito, the Controller of State House, Office of the President, and Agrobic Investment Limited that was awarded the tender, because the Controller of State House at that time was the accounting officer in charge of the Office of the Deputy President. The report of the Auditor General, Mrs. Nancy Gadongo, dated 24th January 2024, on the Executive Office of the President for the year ended 30th June 2023, gave the opinion confirming that due compliance with the Public Finance Management Act 2012, the report is annexed herewith and marks as Annex RG 23. I would also like to add that as Deputy President, I am not involved in procurement processes of my office, whether directly or indirectly. I would also like to state that I do not know the company, AgroPric Investments Limited, which undertook the renovations. I do not know the directors and the company. I did not participate in the tendering or supervising of the same. The motion dated 26 September 2024 alleges that on 29 January 2023, 45 million Kenya shillings was transferred to Bayani Enterprises Limited, which is alleged to be a special purpose vehicle used by me to siphon public funds. No evidence whatsoever is contained in the motion showing that the said company is in any way connected to me or that I have any beneficial interest in the said company, which I am neither a director or a shareholder. I categorically refute the allegation, which is false and unfounded. Mr. Speaker, I would also like to confirm that I'm not a director or a shareholder, directly or indirectly, of the company called AgroPric Investments Limited, and I do not know its shareholders or its directors. Mr. Speaker, there is an allegation of dubiously acquiring substantial portion of the sum of 100 billion paid to Lusona Events Limited. My response, Mr. Speaker, just like in the above matter, I have read the motion and I would like to state that this company is linked to me. I wish to categorically state that I have no beneficial interest in the said company and neither am I affiliated in any way to the directors and shareholders of the said company. I would also like to state that I'm not a director or a shareholder of the company and do not know its shareholders or its directors. I do not sit in a tendering committee. I am not the accounting officer of the Office of the Deputy President. I have also not had any complaints against the manner in which the company undertook the work. I am unable to confirm the allegations on funds withdrawn from the account of the company since I am not a signatory dated with the company in any way whatsoever. Mr. Speaker, the motion dated 26 September 2024 claims that I am reasonably suspected to be the principal beneficiary of the dubious transactions. However, Mr. Speaker, no evidence has been adduced or annexed to the motion to give credence to the allegations or suspicion. I categorically refute acquiring or benefiting from any funds paid to Lusona Events Limited, and therefore the allegation is false and unfounded. Mr. Speaker, I have been accused of siphoning money through St. Nicholas Rehabilitation and Industrial Training Institute Limited. My response, Mr. Speaker, is that the motion dated 26 September 2024 makes the claim that a payment of 21 million was made to a company called St. Nicholas Rehabilitation Center and Psychiatric Hospital. Then subsequently payment was made to Umalari Motors Limited. The motion claims that it is suspected that the entire transaction was used by me to siphon public funds and the payments typify money laundering transaction. I am not a director or a shareholder of this company and I have never received any payments from this company. Similarly, I am not affiliated or related to the shareholders and directors of the two companies. No evidence has been annexed to the motion showing that I was a beneficiary of the funds paid as alleged. I wish to point out that I am not the accounting officer in the Office of the Deputy President and I am not aware that the payments made to this company by the office. The allegation is therefore false and unfounded. Mr. Speaker, there is an accusation of alleged sensational but false accusations against the Honorable Lady Justice Esther Maina. My response, Mr. Speaker, it is alleged in the special notice motion on ground 4 on page 14 at a gross violation of the Constitution that I publicly attacked the Honorable Lady Justice Esther Maina and forcefully threatened to bring action against her. First, Article 160, Sub-Article 5 of the Constitution provides that the judge cannot be found liable in a court of law for actions taken in good faith in lawful performance of their work. This provision is not a bar on freedom of expression guaranteed under Article 33 of the Constitution, nor a bar of the right to seek redress for legal wrongs simply because a wrong is committed by a judge. the exit multiple legal fora in which to take action against a judge for any actions that are not lawful. My statements were protected speech consequent to a decision by the learned judge in a matter involving my personal assets, which I disagreed with and found to be wholly unfair. The matter having been concluded at that stage, my criticism of the decision was not sub judice, nor in any manner prohibited by law. While I respected the ruling of the learned judge, I was in absolute disagreement with it. Contrary to the assertions in the special motion, I did not falsely threaten to bring action against the learned judge. I took actual legal action available to every citizen of Kenya under Article 160B, subsection 2 of the Constitution, which allows any person to petition the Judicial Service Commission for removal of any judge and file a legal complaint before the Judicial Service Commission, JSC, in March 2020. The complaint being live before JSC, discussion of the conduct of the judge in the same manner here would be sub judice. A copy of the complaint is annexed herewith and marked Annexure RG 24. Mr. Speaker, I have been accused of diverting materials meant for construction of Kilifi Malindi Highway to tarmac a private road to Vipigo Beach Resort. My response, Mr. Speaker, I reiterate that Vipigo Beach Resort is registered in the name of the estate of my late brother, Honorable James Gachagua. Number two, the facts are as follows. King Charles III visited Kenya between 30th October 2023 and 30th November 2024. During his state visit, places where King Charles III was to visit was Kuruitu Marine Conservancy, which shares a road with Vipigo Beach Resort. I have annexed a copy of the program for the state visit to Kenya by King Charles III, marked as Annex RG 25, at page 13 on items 63 and 64, shows his departure and arrival at Kuruitu Marine Conservancy. There are several media reports confirming the visit by King Charles III to Kuruitu Marine Conservancy. I have annexed extracts of the media reports by the Star newspaper dated 7 November and by African News marked as Annexure RG 26. My understanding is that the road to Kuruitu Marine Conservancy was upgraded in respect of this visit, which also to benefit the local community, including amenities like Cheriani Secondary School, Cheriani Primary School, a mosque and a public market as part of the corporate social responsibility. I wish to point out that the alleged road, that is Takaungu Shariani Vipingo, is a public road and not a private road leading to any property associated with the Deputy President, but a public road. Mr. Speaker, I have been accused of undermining the President and the Cabinet by allegedly making contradictory public statements from the position taken by Cabinet regarding the evacuation of the people residing along the Nairobi River. My response, Mr. Speaker, is that Article 147 of the Constitution provides that the Deputy President shall be the principal assistant of the President and shall deputize the President in execution of the President's functions. Article 28, which states that every person has inherent dignity and the right to have the dignity respected and protected. Article 29C, Mr. Speaker, states that every person has the right to freedom and security of the person, which includes the right not to be subjected to any form of violence from either public or private sources. Section 15G1 of the Land Act states that notwithstanding any provisions to the contrary in this act or in any other written law, all eviction shall be carried out in a strict accordance with the following procedures. Be preceded by proper identification of this taking part in the eviction or demolitions. Be preceded by the presentation of formal authorizations for action. C, where groups of people are involved, government officials or their representatives be present during an eviction. D, be carried out in a manner that respects the dignity, right to life and security of those affected. E, include special measures to ensure effective protection to groups of people who are vulnerable, such as women, children, the elderly, and persons with disabilities, including special measures to ensure that there is no arbitrary deprivation of property or possessions as a result of the eviction. This includes mechanisms to protect property and possessions left behind involuntarily from destruction, to respect the principles of necessity and proportionality during the use of force, and give the affected persons the first priority to demolish and salvage their property. Critically, our Constitution provides at 147(2) that first the Deputy President shall perform the functions conferred by this Constitution and any other functions assigned by the President. Pursuant to Article 3 of the Constitution, I, as well as every other citizen of Kenya, and state or public officers have an obligation to respect, uphold, and defend this Constitution in performing any of my functions. This, the national values and principles of governance contained in Article 10 of the Constitution, by those state organs, public officers, and all persons, including myself as Deputy President, wherever we make or implement public policy decisions. In addition to this matter, Mr. Speaker, these national values and procedures include the rule of law, democracy and participation of the people, human dignity, equity, social justice, inclusiveness, equality, human rights, non-discrimination, and protection of the marginalized. Adherence to these principles become extremely important when we as state officers are contemplating legal evacuation of citizens with a duty to avoid inhuman forced eviction that will be contrary to our Constitution and international law. While campaigning with President William Ruto, and subsequently when I was sworn in as Deputy President, the President and I promised as a key pillar of the Kenya Kwanza government that there will be no forced or unlawful evictions, and that all evictions will be human and entail legal compensation. Mr. Speaker, the Office of the Deputy President has undertaken extensive engagement with all parties in regard to cabinet decisions on eviction, which I fully support, including the Nairobi River, which is an entity under the Office of Nairobi. Adherence to these principles become extremely important when we, as state officers, are contemplating legal evacuation of citizens with a duty to avoid inhuman forced evictions that will be contrary to our Constitution and international law. Guideline number 6 of the United Nations General Assembly guidelines for the implementation of the rights to adequate housing prohibits forced evictions, and that the state should ensure that any eviction under domestic law are fully compliant with international law. The guidelines further require the need for eviction procedures or police enforcement. Mr. Speaker, I have supported the implementation of government directives on the eviction, save for the fact that on being informed that the persons residing along Nairobi River would be evicted and paid 10,000 shillings only, which I and many other Kenyans felt was inadequate compensation for eviction. I insisted that the government should abide by the constitutional dictates and international norms while implementing any cabinet decisions, including eviction, and maintain the dignity of the citizens of Kenyans facing eviction. My statements did not and cannot be construed to undermine the president by insisting that people should not be evicted inhumanly and without adequate compensation. Mr. Speaker, I've been accused of undermining devolution by allegedly holding a meeting in Nairobi Wakulima Market. The motion alleges that on 28 September 2024, I unlawfully running of the Nairobi City County government by holding a public rally where I allegedly incited citizens against lawful directives of the county government on planning and allocation of markets. My response, Mr. Speaker, is that the motion alleges that on September 2024, I unlawfully interfered with the running of the Nairobi City County government by allegedly inciting citizens against lawful directives. Article 6(2) of the Constitution provides that the government at national and county levels are distinct and interdependent and shall conduct their mutual relations on the basis of consultation and cooperation. This being the case, it cannot be said that there is a violation of the Constitution when someone from the national government makes a comment on matters relating to county governments. The traders had sought me out to intervene and request the governor on their behalf to dialogue with them and seek a solution to the grievances with regard to the relocation of markets. I request a next RG video 3 be played for the benefit of members to say what I said. Please play the video for us. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My counsel has just drawn my attention that in my earlier explanation on Nairobi River, I have a video 1 and 2 that I would like you to play so that I buttress my point on what I meant. Please video 1 and 2.
People of Kenya to work hard. We don't have a choice. Once we try to fix this economy and create a good working environment where we don't criminalize enterprise, where ordinary Kenyans are allowed to work, where businessmen are not harassed by KRA, where goods belonging to the people of Kenya will never again be touched by overzealous public servants. Never again be evicted in brutal evictions by state agencies. And I say, freedom is here. Freedom is here.
Now the number of fatalities from ongoing forcible eviction by the government has risen to 3, with another tragic loss in Mathare on Monday. An 18-year-old boy died as a bulldozer brought down a church in the area just moments after President William Ruto left. The young man, who was assisting in salvaging the church's belongings, became a Ben Kirui reports.
Monday evening, the ongoing forcible evictions in flood-prone areas tragically ended yet another life. The 18-year-old Ian Otieno lost his life in Mathare moments after President William Ruto left the area where he had been assessing the effects of floods. Bulldozers descended on homes near riverbanks, flattening Skinda. Ian's mother struggled to comprehend